Father-in-law Kaido's monster cells create the strongest beasts. 211. Judge who decided to surrender, give root to Luo Xing. The Kingdom of Germa is one of the largest countries in the North Blue and once ruled the North Blue. Later, the national strength gradually declined, and the glory was no longer. But through the cloning technology of the ambitious Vinsmoke Judge, Germa's national power has been gradually enhanced. The most terrifying thing about Judge's clones is that they don't have all kinds of human emotions such as fear and pain. They will only obey their master's orders and charge without fear. Even in death, the eyelids will not blink. The ambitious Judge, but not content with that, he actually turned his sons and daughters into emotionless monsters. Eiji, Nijai, and Yuji have completely lost their feelings, just like robots. Ru retained a little emotion. The youngest, Sanji, was not successfully transformed, so he was kicked out of Vinsmoke, and his life and death are unknown. Judge is ambitious, has 4 powerful children, has an army of clones who are not afraid of death, and his dream of ruling North Blue again, or 310 may be fulfilled in his lifetime. But Judge couldn't wait. Desperate for quick success, he wanted to marry the 4 emperor's aunt pirates and gain the support of the aunts. In this way, his dream of ruling North Blue will soon be realized. However, the accident happened very suddenly. He had just made preliminary negotiations with the auntie group. The Beasts Pirates, known as the strongest 4 emperors group, suddenly came to Germa through a strange door. Judge looked bewildered. He was easily caught by Luo Xing. The 5 emperors who are now more famous than the 4 emperors. His children, all of his clone troopers, have also been programmed by the nasty man who is more technologically advanced than Vegapunk, became only loyal to the Beast Order, and no longer loyal to him. Judge was furious, his eyes were red, and he wanted to settle accounts with Luo Xing, but was kicked and beaten by his 3 sons. Those 3 beasts are inferior, he is their biological father. But so what? Eiji, Nijai, and Yuji have long lost the concept of family affection. Can something like father be beaten? Judge passed out of anger. If Luo Xing hadn't looked at Ru's face, maybe the 3 of Reiju would have killed Judge. Luo Xing let Judge go, and asked Judge to think about it, whether he would really submit to him. Judge wakes up in a daze. Germa is still the same Germa, but it doesn't belong to him anymore. Judge's tears flowed down. At first, he was very unwilling. He wanted to take back the power that should belong to him. He desperately researched the program of Luo Xing's transformation, and wanted to re-engineer the clone soldiers back. But Judge has been studying for 10 days and 10 nights without rest, but still no progress has been made. He didn't even understand how Luo Xing's program was written. Judge was completely desperate. Whether it is strength or technological means, the gap between him and that man is worlds apart, not on the same level at all. The despairing Judge was already disheartened. But after seeing the news of Luo Xing destroying Impel Down, occupying Sepedi Land, and repelling Marine and World Government's 50,000 army, suddenly, an unprecedented bright light appeared in his eyes. 100 beasts. Ha 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 ha. 5 Emperor Luo Xing. Ha ha ha. Good. Judge suddenly grabbed the newspaper and laughed wildly. The 3 of them thought that their father could not stand the stimulation, and finally went crazy. Yuji pouted and said, I'm afraid the old thing is really crazy. Throw it out to feed the fish. Nijai nodded in agreement. It's a good idea, otherwise it would be a waste of food to keep this old thing all day long. Bossage said with dissatisfaction. How can you 2 say that? He is our father after all. Judge, clutching the newspaper, was moved to tears. Yizzy, this old man's eldest son, you finally have some conscience. However, the next second Iji's words turned Judge's emotion into anger and sadness. Iji road, whether it's thrown out to feed the fish or boiled in a frying pan, we have to ask Master Luo Xing for instructions first. We are not qualified to make decisions on our own. Nijai and Yuji nodded in agreement. Ru sneered at the 3 ridiculous father and son, with undisguised irony in their beautiful eyes. But she doesn't sympathize with her father Judge at all, which is Judge's own fault. Wasn't her mother forced to death by Judge's own hands in this grief? Ru turned around and prepared to go back to the room, too lazy to look at these so-called relatives. Judge suddenly rushed in front of her. Ru, knowing that only you have a conscience as a father, you should help your father with one thing. Ru said with a blank face, if you want me to help you avenge Wu Huang Luo Xing, I'm sorry, I can't do it, and I won't do it. No, it's not revenge, the old man doesn't want that kind of thing anymore. Judge said excitedly. Oh? Ru looked at the newspaper in Judge's hand in surprise. Could it be that her ambitious father, after seeing the man's feat of destroying Impel Down and occupying Sepedi's land, finally planned to surrender? Ru guessed right. Judge was indeed ready to surrender. On the one hand, he has figured out that he is really unable to resist the current situation. On the other hand, the 5 emperors Luo Xing, Beasts Pirates dared to openly challenge Marine and the world government to do such a shocking thing to the world. That means that their goal must be to overthrow the world government and conquer the whole world. And to conquer the whole world, North Blue is naturally included. The Kingdom of Germa, which is located in North Blue, will definitely be the main force for the beasts to conquer North Blue. In this way, Judge can realize his dream of ruling North Blue under the command of the beasts. This was a great fortune among misfortunes, and it was the only place Judge could console himself. So, Judge decided to surrender, and wanted to ask Luo Xing to entrust him with the task of conquering North Blue. But if you ask for it like this, the success rate is estimated to be very small. That's why Judge is now asking Ru. After Ru listened to Judge's explanation, he sighed lightly and said, It's your daughter after all. I'll tell you about it, but I can't guarantee it will be successful. No, you will succeed, Ru. Judge's eyes were burning, and he said with certainty, because the old man intends to give you to Wu Huang Luo Xing and make you his woman. In this way, the relationship between Germa and the 100 Beasts will no longer be a complete subordinate. The old man will get his due status, and they will no longer doubt the old man's loyalty. Ru froze in place. She didn't expect Judge to have such an idea. Not to mention, this idea is indeed the most beneficial to Judge. At least it can greatly improve Judge's current situation. But this extremely selfish father has never thought about her daughter's happiness. 5.4, and did not ask her if she would like to. It's a pity she just regained her sympathy. Ru powder moisturizing lips evokes a ridiculous arc. Bypass Judge and go straight. Neither agreed nor refused. The judge behind him fell to his knees with a plop and kowtowed to Ru. Ru, please. This is the only chance for a father to turn around and realize his dream. Ru felt a blockage in his heart. Kneeling down to her, this poor, pathetic, hateful father really did it. Ru quickly returned to the room. Close the door. Back against the wall. Close your eyes. Sadness in my heart. A voice suddenly sounded in her ear. Well, I think Judge makes a lot of sense that you should accede to the request of this poor, determined father. Ru opened his eyes sharply. The man talking in her ear was not Wu Huang Luo Xing, but who was it? 212. Luo Xing was poisoned by Magellan. Let Ru take poison. Please subscribe. How could you? Ru's pink lips opened in surprise. Immediately, he saw the random door behind Luo Xing and understood the reason why the man was elusive. With a sigh, your invention is just like in a fairy tale. Similar words, Momousagi just said a while ago. Luo Xing stared at the intellectual, mature and slightly sad woman in front of him. Like Momousagi, she has a pair of beautiful long legs. Amazingly slender, round and fair. Her lip color is also very beautiful, not the kind of dazzling red, but rather pink, moist and glowing with a little luster. Such beautiful pink lips are absolutely not allowed to be approached by ordinary people. Otherwise, you don't know how to die. Ru's nickname of very toxic powder is not for nothing. Luo Xing was staring at Ru, and Ru's beautiful eyes were also watching him closely. Ru could see that the love for her in the eyes of men, and the domineering connotation contained in it, was enough to make any woman flustered. Ru pursed her lips and said, you heard what Judge said just now? Luo Xing nodded. Not bad. 35. Ru bit his 18 lips slightly. Are you agreeing to his request? Are you willing to continue to hand over Germa to his command and carry out the task of conquering North Blue? Luo Xing smiled and said, there's nothing wrong with it. But Germa's clone troopers will always be loyal to me, and Judge doesn't have the ability to rebel even if he wants to. Besides, Judge is North Blue's local snake after all. He is more familiar with North Blue's terrain and country distribution than I am. It is indeed the best choice for him to fight North Blue. A hint of complexity flashed across Ru's beautiful eyes. She did not expect Luo Xing to be so generous and thoughtful. There was no need for her to persuade. The man would have agreed to Judge's request. Pity her selfish and ignorant father, but he couldn't see it. He wanted to give her to Luo Xing, and even knelt down to her. Ru sighed and said, in this case, it seems that I don't have to give myself to you, and you also have a wife. Luo Xing approached Ru. The two were only a few centimeters apart, and they could clearly feel each other's breathing. Luo Xing said in a gentle voice, you belong to me, and you are destined to be my woman. 35. Ru blushed slightly. The man's straightforward words made her, who had always been bold and mature, a little flustered. She gave Luo Xing a blank look and said, I knew you had bad intentions for a long time. When you first came to Germa, you broke into someone's room in the middle of the night, and said that it was to tell my brother Sanji. A little embarrassment appeared on Luo Xing's face. Unexpectedly, Ru saw through his mind long ago. Not surprising, after all, Ru is a very smart woman. In the cold and aggressive kingdom of Germa, only she can keep calm at all times. Luo Xing intends to let Judge, who has surrendered, lead the Zermac clone army and fight against North Blue. But the power of the military division will be handed over to Ru. But said Sanji, Luo Xing looked at Ru's face last time at Sepadi Archipelago and didn't hurt Sanji. After that, he was shot by the tyrant bear, and he must have flown to Shemal Island just like in the original book. Luo Xing took pity on Sanji silently in his heart. As a beauty lover with the same hobby, Shemal Island is definitely a hell in hell. With these thoughts running through my mind, I heard Ru's voice and continued, before you left that day, people just smiled at you, and you almost couldn't help it. Humphrey, your wife was around then, so bad. Ru subconsciously showed a coquettish expression. Luo Xing's throat rolled, and suddenly he stretched out his hands and embraced Ru's wicker-like waist. In the beautiful ear, she said, I never said I was a good person. Ru put a pair of jade hands on Luo Xing's chest, raised his head, looked at the handsome face of the man who was close at hand, his big eyes filled with affection. So, do you want to bully people like a bad guy? Luo Xing said that if he didn't become a bad guy at this time, he would be worse than a bad guy. Hours later, Luo Xing hugged Ru tightly and said seriously, when I destroyed Impel Down this time, it seemed like I was poisoned by Magellan. Ru, who had no strength, was immediately startled, sat up, and said anxiously, where is it poisoned? Why didn't you say it earlier? After searching for a long time, I couldn't find any trace of poisoning on Luo Crossing. Ru's beautiful eyes immediately became a little weird, and she vaguely understood what Luo Xing meant. Luo Xing said with expectant ease, that Magellan is a poisonous fruit person, as long as the place where he is, even the surrounding air is poisonous. I can't help inhaling a little. 99. Toxins have penetrated into my body and are invisible from the outside. Ru, aren't you capable of taking toxins? Please help me. 5. Another few hours. Luo Xing walked out of Ru's room contentedly. I was refreshed, and felt full of energy. He turned his head to look at Ru, who was still able to support him, holding his arm, and said with a smile, the technology of Germa is indeed unique. You can actually swallow poison without taking any damage. If you like to eat it, I will be poisoned a few more times next time. Ru's pretty face was flushed red, and her beautiful eyes were almost dripping water, and she hummed in a more coquettish tone than before, you know how to harm people. Luo Xing laughed, hugging Ru's thinner waist and walking towards Germa's palace. In the palace, Judge, Nijai, Yuji and his son are still inside. Seeing Luo Xing, the three Yizzy brothers immediately knelt down on one knee and said, see Lord Luo Xing. After being transformed, they already regard Luo Xing as the main thing. Even if Luo Xing asked them to kill their biological father Judge, they would not frown. Compared to the three Yizzy brothers kneeling on one knee, Judge threw a thud, knelt down with both legs, and said in a panic, Lord Luo Xing, 310. I am willing to surrender to you. I am willing to surrender to the Beast's pirates. 99. I only hope that you can hand over the task of conquering North Blue to your subordinates. 99. Judge, who was kneeling on the ground, quietly raised his head. He was overjoyed to see his daughter holding Luo Xing's arm. Obviously, the relationship between Ru and Lord Luo Xing has grown to that point. He Judge's earlier pleas to Ru were not in vain. Judge, who is extremely selfish, only has his own ambitions in his mind. As for whether Ru himself is willing to become Lord Luo Xing's woman, he doesn't care at all. A woman is just an object, even his biological daughter is no exception. Luo Xing did not respond to Judge, nor did the three Yizzy brothers get up. He went straight to the throne at the top of the palace and sat down. Although when talking to Ru, he has a gentle expression and a gentle tone, but in the eyes of others, Luo Xing, who has been in the top position for a long time, exudes a kind of majesty and haki all the time. This kind of majesty and haki let the lower-ranking people tremble with fear. Just like the Judge father and son at the moment, cold sweat dripped from their foreheads. Sitting on the throne, with Ru by his side, Luo Xing said in a faint voice, get up, all of you. 35. Vinsmoke. Judge, you eat this ghost-level monster cell. If you can bear the side effects, I will let you continue to lead Germa and conquer North Blue. If you can't bear it, go down and admit your mistakes to the wife you killed. 213. The war to conquer North Blue begins. World conscription and general mobilization. Since Ru has become Luo Xing's woman, Judge is equivalent to half of his father-in-law. However, Luo Xing would not make excuses for Judge because of this. He really doesn't mind returning the command of Germa to Judge, since it is impossible for him to betray any more. But the premise is that Judge has enough strength and value. If they can't even bear the side effects of a ghost-level monster cell, what qualifications do they have to discuss other things? A strangely shaped piece of purple meat was thrown in front of Judge by Luo Crossing. Without any hesitation, Judge swallowed the monster cell. Next moment, he howled in pain. As a technician who is used to fighting in battle suits, Judge's body strength is not that strong, including the three brothers. Most of their strengths are based on battle suits. Judge's screams lasted for more than 10 minutes, showing how difficult it was for him to endure a ghost-level monster cell. Fortunately, the desire for ambition and the desire to rule North Blue made him persevere. At this moment, Judge's breath has skyrocketed, and his size has doubled. Feeling the unprecedented power in his body, Judge was overjoyed and trembled with excitement. He knelt down and said, thank you, Lord Luo Xing, for the reward. 35. Only the Judge whose strength has skyrocketed can more and more perceive Luo Xing's unfathomable depth. There was no more unwilling thought in his mind. To be able to surrender to this man, to be under the command of the beasts that are destined to become more and more terrifying. In a way, both Judge and Germa are good things. Luo Xing nodded slightly and said, since you have endured it, from now on, the Germac clone army will still be under your command. You must capture the entire North Blue as soon as possible, especially to clear the forces of Marine and the world government from North Blue. 99. Judge was ecstatic. Luo Xing appointed Ru as his military division, and he was on an equal footing with Judge. Then, He went to see the newly created clone army. After the transformation of Luo Xing, the efficiency of the device for making clones is greatly improved. Hundreds of clones can be produced every day, and the physique of the clones is also much stronger than the original. This time, the number of newly born clones is more than 40,000. In addition to the soldiers that Germa already had, the Clone Legion now has a force of 80,000. Luo Xing also fed these 80,000 people with monster cells, making each of them as powerful as beasts. Looking at the 80,000 soldiers in awe, Judge couldn't help himself. With such a terrorist army, capturing the entire North Blue is no problem at all. The ecstatic Judge immediately asked Luo Xing for his orders, wanting to attack the most powerful countries in North Blue first. Luo Xing agreed. First strong and then weak. This is the best tactic for the conquerors, because as long as the strong country is defeated, the weaker countries will feel fear and surrender easily. The ambitious Judge went to war right away. For a time, North Blue was caught in the huge smoke of war. Rue's beautiful eyes couldn't bear to say, does such an ambition really matter when so many people are killed in a war? Luo Xing hugged Rue's slender waist and comforted, not just for ambition, but to save the common people who have been oppressed by celestial dragons for 800 years. In this world, the vast majority of countries are affiliated to the world government, and they have to offer heavenly gold to celestial dragons every year. The royal family doesn't do anything about production, just enjoy it. Where does their heavenly gold come from? It can only be plundered from the common people. All I killed were these blood-sucking assholes. To ordinary people, as long as they are willing to surrender, they will never harm them at all. Furthermore, I will distribute 1 Aokijivs super seeds and multifunctional Cybertronians to completely solve the problem of producing food. Rue's delicate body shook. Looking at Luo Xing's eyes, he couldn't help but be full of admiration. But immediately, she said with a little taste, you do all this for your wife Yamato's dream of feeding the whole world, right? Although this is true, Luo Xing will definitely not admit it at this time. Luo Xing grabbed Rue with both hands, and put his amazingly beautiful long legs on his shoulders and said, and to keep you full. Rue blushed and forgot to be jealous. Outside world, the war between nations is in full swing. Inside the room, the war between Luo Xing and Rue also lasted for a long time. The kingdom of Germa suddenly launched a full-scale invasion war in North Blue. Such a major event was immediately heard by the world government. Holy Land Marie Joyce. The 5 elders among the powers were furious and shouted, what did Vinsmoke Judge want to start a war so silently? To kill all of our people is audacious. 359. Isn't he afraid of punishment from the world government? The kingdom of Germa is actually a member of the world government. But now with the war, of course, its affiliation status was immediately removed by the 5 elders. The CP member who came to report the matter said with sincerity and fear, according to the report of North Blue's spies, he suspected to have seen the figure of the 5th Emperor Luo Xing in the fleet of the Kingdom of Germa. And Germa's clone troopers, all of which have become monster-like. They should have eaten the monster cells invented by the 5 Emperor Luo crossing. The 5 elders heard the words, and the anger in their chests almost broke through the sky. It's Yuang Luo Xing again. And it's that man again. Destroy, impel down, occupy the land of Saibadi, and now take control of Germa, trying to rule the entire North Blue. Is that bastard really trying to conquer the world? The 5 elders were angry, but also fearful. They were afraid of Lord Im's thunderous wrath, good enough, and of how bad the current situation was. The sword-wielding old man reluctantly calmed down and asked Kong, the commander-in-chief of the sea, land and air who was also in the palace, Sora, have you chosen the new Marshal Admarine? 35. Kong frowned, worried about the current world situation. He shook his head and sighed, not yet. Admiral Akainu and Admiral Aokijivs, not giving each other, are determined to win the position of Marshal. 99. They're going to have a fair duel, and the victor will be the Marshal. The old man with a sword said, then let them duel quickly. Is there still time to delay the situation now? Kong, you go on. No matter who becomes the Marshal, the first task is to carry out the world conscription. Faced with the aggressive situation of the 5 emperors Luo Xing and the Beast's pirates, we must add new combat powers. 35. In addition, you must also conduct a general mobilization of the entire army, and always prepare for a full-scale war with the Beasts. 214. Battle of Marine Admiral, Aokijivs Akainu. Justice for each. The current site of the 100 Beasts group, in addition to the base camp Wonokuni, on the bright side are Dressrosa, Punk Hazard, Saibadi Archipelago, and the Kingdom of Germa in North Blue. Not yet known to outsiders, there are Alabaster, and the surrounding villages where East Blue Army is located. And during the Summit War, Kaido and the Big Mom Alliance have occupied the territory of New World Whitebeard, and the territory has doubled again. Nowadays, Luo Xing launched a war in North Blue again, intending to use Germa's clone army to separate North Blue from the jurisdiction of the world government. Once it succeeds, it means that the foundation of the world government, which has ruled the sea for 800 years, has been completely shaken. After all, this sea is composed of 4 major sea areas in the south, north, and west, as well as the Grand Line and the Red Line. The loss of North Blue is equivalent to a quarter of the size of the world government. In addition to the New World in the second half of the Grand Line, except for a few forces such as the Redheads, they are basically under the control of the beasts. The overall power and territory of the 100 beasts is enough to wrestle with the world government. The 5 elders saw this clearly, even if they had no brains. Right now, the threat of the 100 beasts is even far ahead of the Rocks and One Piece Roger. The world government can no longer have any 310 reservations, it must assemble more troops and combat power, and always prepare to start a real huge war with the beast regiment that will affect the whole world. This is also the order and consideration of Im-sama. Therefore, the 5 elders directly asked Kong to mobilize the entire army around the world, that is, to call up the world government to disperse the troops from all over the world. Once these troops are gathered, at least it is an army of tens of millions. But with so many troops, the 5 elders are still not enough. They also asked Marine to conduct a world conscription to add more combat power to deal with the growing threat of the beasts. Let Akainu and Aokiji decide quickly. Marine has no time for them. This was the original words of the 5 elders, and it quickly reached the ears of both Akainu and Aokiji. The two looked at each other and came to a desert island far away from Marineford. In the original, the battle between Akainu and Aokiji, which took place in Punk Hazard, permanently changed the climate of Pondao, turning it into an island of ice and fire. But now Punk Hazard is the site of the 100 beasts, guarded by fire calamity, so they can't choose there anymore. Desert Island. Akainu's injuries on the top have recovered, but there are a few permanent scars on his face and neck, all caused by the strongest man in the world, Whitebeard. In contrast, Aokiji and Kizaru, intact, were just catching fish when they were on top. Hard work and credit are far from being on a par with his Akainu. But, even with so much credit and hard work, how could Akainu not feel angry and dissatisfied that Isshin wanted Aokiji to take over as his marshal? This is so unfair. Fortunately, there are voices supporting Akainu within Marine as well. In particular, the top executives such as 5 elders are more interested in Akainu, allowing Akainu to have the opportunity to compete fairly with Aokiji for the position of marshal. Akainu looked at Aokiji opposite and said coldly, "Kyuzin, with your lazy nature, you're not fit to be a marshal at all." Aokiji retorted unceremoniously, "Seikazuki, even if I'm really not motivated, Marine can't be in your hands anyway. Your justice is too extreme. Remember the civilian ship Ohara was bombarded by you?" 35. A sneering arc appeared at the corner of Akainu's mouth, and said ridiculously, "I didn't expect you to remember something so long ago." Then, the smile gradually became cold, and the cold made people feel chills in the heart. That thing. The old man admits that he did nothing wrong. What if there are hidden scholars in that civilian ship? For the safety of the world, I would rather kill 100 by mistake than let one go. Aokiji's face sank. Seikazuki is still extremely radical as always, completely incompatible with his philosophy. Aokiji took a deep breath and said, "Since that's the case, then there's no need to talk nonsense. Let's use the strength to distinguish the competition." "Just to my liking." Akainu shouted and took the lead. Great eruption. A giant fist of lava blasted out. Aokiji has no fear. He also hit a giant fist of ice, and Akainu pointed to Meimang. In this confrontation between ice and magma, the two restrained each other, and it was difficult to tell the winner. But neither of the two was willing to take a step back, and both chose to fight to the death. Although they are not enemies, they are still friends who have worked together for many years. But for their own justice, they must hold the belief of killing each other. This unprecedented, earth-shattering battle between marine admirals lasted for 10 days and 10 nights. The final winner is Seikazuki Akainu. Aokiji lay on the ground, covered in blood, and one leg was burned by the lava. Akainu was gasping for breath and had a huge scar on his upper body, but he still stood. "I won, Kyuzin." Akainu hoarse throat, squeezed his fist, lava poured out, and seemed to want to end Aokiji there. However, looking at his former comrade in arms, who had no strength to resist, Akainu's heart was like a stone. Akainu finally gave up killing Aokiji. He turned and walked in the direction of Marineford, and said without looking back, "Look well, Kyuzan, and I'll show you that it's only under my guidance that Marine will go in the right direction." The laziness and tender justice you insist on, in this era of increasingly fierce pirates, has no effect at all. Kyuzan, I would like to warn you again, if you are degenerate in the future, if you let the old man meet again, the old man will not be merciful. Akainu left. As the new marshal of Marine, he will create a new Marine unlike any previous era. As a loser, Aokiji lay on the ground and did not recover for a long time. I don't know how long ago, Aokiji made a leg out of ice and stood up. He looked in Marineford's direction and shook his head. "Marine, there's no way he's going back." "And where should he go next?" Aokiji couldn't help but remember what the mysterious 5 Emperor Luo Xing said to him more than 10 days ago. He seemed to have anticipated that he would be no match for Akainu, and invited him to join the beast's pirates. Aokiji initially thought the invitation was absurd. How could he join a hostile pirate force, Marine Admiral? But if you think about it carefully, you will find that it is not completely impossible. It was only at this moment that Aokiji, who had lost Marine's destination, understood more clearly. Although the world is big, it seems that apart from the beast's pirates, there is really no other force that can accommodate him. Aokiji stood there thinking for a long time. Then, he put on a shoulder bag and rode his own bicycle with only a penguin. He was going to go to the war-torn North Blue to have a look first. 215. Fujitora Green Cow joins Marine, Vergo eats bat fruit, phantom beasts. The Germac clone army is progressing rapidly, and in just over 10 days, it has already captured most of the North Blue. The strongest countries in North Blue were the first to be destroyed, and the royal family of the corps was slaughtered. The Marine and World Government forces in North Blue were also uprooted. Among them were several strongholds of the Revolutionary Army, which were also destroyed. The whole world shook. Even the most sluggish person can see at this time, the beast's pirates. The mysterious 5 Emperor Luo Xing, the 4 Emperors Kaido, the strongest creature in the world, will compete with the World Government, which has stood for 800 years, for the supremacy of this sea. This is unprecedented. Even the rocks back then only attacked the Valley of the Gods, and did not really rule a sea area. As for One Piece Roger, although he has a great reputation, he does not actually pose a substantial threat to the world government. One of Roger's greatest accomplishments was reaching Raftel and learning the truth about 100 years of blankness. One is that before dying, the era of the Great Pirate was opened, but Roger did not make the truth of history public. Obviously, he thought it was not time. He believes that even if the history is announced, the world government cannot be overthrown. He just pinned his hopes on future generations, hoping that someone in the era of the Great Pirates could inherit his will. By contrast, the 100 Beasts directly fought with the world government to compete for territory and hegemony. No doubt Haki was much stronger. Faced with the increasingly aggressive situation of the 100 Beasts, Marine and the world government will certainly not be inactive. Marine starts the world recruitment, recruiting new combat powers around the world. Even with the destruction of Impel Down in the occupation of Sepadi Land, Marine's prestige has dropped to a historical freezing point. But Marine is still the biggest force in this sea after all, and the new Marine with Akainu as the marshal, holding high the banner of absolute justice, still attracted a considerable number of people to join. There are even some top powerhouses, such as a blind uncle leaning on crutches, turned out to be a gravity fruit person. It easily crushed a naval headquarters elite vice admiral in the Marine's entry test. The incident even alarmed retired former Marine Marshal Sengoku. There was also an unruly guy with green hair, who was flying over to Marine headquarters with a grass stuck in his back. This person's ability can be called terrifying, and he can actually absorb the nutrients in the human body and use it for his own use. According to this guy, he hasn't eaten in years. The blind man and the green-haired guy soon became famous within Marine and were called the rare and powerful monsters in the world. The retired Sengoku exclaimed, "Fujitora and Green Bull both have Marine Admiral level strength." This remark greatly inspired the new Marine led by Akainu. After all, former Admiral Aokiji left Marine after losing the battle for the marshal position. Akainu took over as the marshal again, leaving 2 Marine Admiral positions vacated at once. Fujitora and Green Bull can just fill these 2 positions. However, another person has long been eyeing one of the Admiral positions. This person is naturally Luo Xing's undercover agent in Marine, who is now the head of the G5 branch base, Vergo. Vergo had defeated the former Admiral Black Calm Zephyr who had betrayed Marine, and was praised by Sengoku as an admiral at the time. But there is still a certain gap between Vergo and Admiral in strength. Although he has better qualifications and credit than Fujitora and Green Bull, he may not be able to compete for the 2. For this reason, Vergo also felt anxious. Just then, Luo Xing called from North Blue. Vergo hurriedly picked it up. Luo Xing's voice came. "Vergo, you have to take advantage of Marine's opportunity to recruit soldiers in this world to become Marine Admiral." Vergo looked ashamed and said, "Fujitora and Green Bull suddenly appeared out of nowhere. Both of them have monster-level strength, and their subordinates. Subordinates may not necessarily be their opponents." 5. Luo Xing, who is a traveler, has long considered this. He said calmly, "It doesn't matter, I have a way to increase your strength in a short time." Vergo was surprised. "Go to the ancient town of Sleep and eat that bat fruit, mythical beast, and vampire form. Your nickname is Ghost Bamboo, so this devil fruit must be very suitable for you." 35. Letting Vergo eat the bat fruit of the phantom beast, Luo Xing had thought of it as early as the moment he met the Red Earl in Impel Down. The Red Earl is old and frail, and the bat fruit can restore his youth, which shows the power of this phantom beast. After Vergo ate it, his strength was enough to instantly rise to the level of Admiral. After hanging up the phone, excited, Vergo immediately led the G5 warship to the ancient town of Sleep. The world is going through huge shocks. At the same time of the turmoil, it is also a good opportunity for heroes to emerge. And Blackbeard Marshal Teach, who should have been in the limelight in this turmoil, was in a state of embarrassment and almost died. Lying in a dilapidated wooden house, Blackbeard spit out streams of seawater from time to time, cursing, "Damn shower of rain, terrifying 5 Emperor Luo Xing, terrifying beasts pirates. Sooner or later I will make them pay the price." Ask for flowers. Blackbeard was furious, his heart suffocated. On the island at the entrance to the New World, he happened to catch Jewelry Bonnie, one of the supernovas, and was going to trade this woman and marine for a warship. But unfortunately, the elusive 5 Emperor Luo Xing actually came through the random door again. Plus Marine sent Admiral Aokijivs. Blackbeard had no choice but to run away again. But in the original book, Shower of the Rain, the King of Evil, and others, who should have joined the Black Group, were chasing after Blackbeard, with a posture of slaughtering them. The King of Evil and Catherine D. Mai all at ghost-level monster cells, and Shower at even more dragon-level ones. With only 5 members of the Blackbeard pirates, who is their opponent whose strength has skyrocketed. Not to mention Luo Xing and Aokijivs. Even though Blackbeard tried his best, the small sailboat he was riding on was wrecked. All the members of the Black Group sank into the sea. Blackbeard is demon fruit power. He drank seawater on the spot and fainted. Fortunately, the fighting champion Badgers was still loyal and brave. After searching in the sea for several days, he finally found Blackbeard. Blackbeard also has a big life, but he still hasn't died. Was rescued. But unfortunately, there was a sudden storm, and Badgers was swept away by the rough waves. No trace of him has been found yet. Thinking of Badgers who was still missing, Blackbeard became even more angry and cursed. He has never been so humiliated and suffocated. "Captain, what should we do next?" Navigator Lafayette sighed and said with a sad face, "It turned out that the New World Whitebeard site we planned to occupy was seized by the 100 Beasts and the Big Mum, and we have nowhere to go now." Blackbeard's face is like the bottom of a pot, and he really wants to scold his mother. But after looking at his subordinates with low morale, he still forced a smile and said, "If you don't die, you will have good luck. The New World is not only Whitebeard's territory, we just need to take other territories," said Hufu. Hufu really arrived. As soon as Blackbeard finished speaking, the phone worm rang. Looking at it like that, it was obvious that it belonged to the missing Badgers. Blackbeard was overjoyed, picked up the phone and said, "Badgers, are you all right?" "Great." But Badgers suppressed his voice and said in an excited tone, "Captain, after I was swept away by the waves, I came across a boat and lay on the bottom of the boat. Now, this ship has arrived at Baldigo, the headquarters of the Revolutionary Army." Gwing 216. Blackbeard's sneak attack on the Revolutionary Army headquarters, the dialogue between Long and Rayleigh. Revolutionary Army headquarters. Blackbeard's eyes suddenly lit up. He was worried that he had nowhere to go, so it was a good idea to attack the Revolutionary Army and occupy Baldigo as the headquarters. Blackbeard did what he said, stood up immediately, and said excitedly to Badgers, "You are lurking there first, and I will come to pick you up immediately." Hanging up the phone, Blackbeard refreshed himself and said with a smirk, "Thief, ha ha ha." God finally stood on Lao Tzu's side this time, destroying the Revolutionary Army. Lao Tzu's reputation must be shaken. The world government and the Beasts pirates are vying for the hegemony of the 4 seas, and Lao Tzu is occupying Baldigo, taking advantage of this opportunity to accumulate strength. 95 little ones, set off with Lao Tzu and head to the headquarters of the Revolutionary Army. 99. Blackbeard hurried off excitedly. It only took half a day to reach the outer coast of Baldigo. Badgers is here waiting for him. Badgers Road, Captain, 310. I have already inquired about it just now. The Revolutionary Army on this island is not many, but there are a few difficult characters. "Oh, who?" Blackbeard asked. "One is the revolutionary monkey D. Long, who was called the world's most vicious criminal by the world government. The other is Pluton Rayleigh. It's no surprise that monkey D. Long is in Baldigo." Blackbeard. After all, he was the leader of the Revolutionary Army. But the legendary right-hand man of One Piece, Pluton Rayleigh, was also on this island, which really surprised Blackbeard. Blackbeard had met Rayleigh decades ago. He had just joined the Whitebeard pirates at the time. On a small island, the White Regiment met with the Roger Regiment, and a war broke out. At that time, Pluton Rayleigh had extremely terrifying power. However, he is now old and frail, and his strength must have declined a lot. Blackbeard's face was uncertain. Pluton Rayleigh was here too, beyond his expectations. But he still did not give up his plan to occupy Baldigo, because he really had no better place to go. New World Whitebeard's territory was occupied by the Beasts and Big Mums, and it was difficult for him to get it back no matter what. Instead of facing the 2 emperors of Aunt Kaido, plus Luo Xing and his terrifying guys, why don't you fight the Revolutionary Army? Pluton Rayleigh now. The enemy is in the open. He is in the dark. He has the advantage of sneak attack, and the chance of success is still very high. Blackbeard was not one to hesitate. He had to make up his mind now. Otherwise, he will always be drifting in the sea so uncertainly that he doesn't even have his own territory, and his prestige in the hearts of Badgers, Lafayette and others will probably be lost. When, The Blackbeard pirates may be at risk of disintegration. Mother Earth cursed done. Blackbeard made up his mind and said fiercely, what if there are these legendary characters? The future is the era of Lao Tzu. Let's go, little ones, destroy this gang of revolutionary troops. Then, the Blackbeard pirates launched a surprise attack on the revolutionary army. The entire Baldigo fell into chaos. Meanwhile, Long's office. Long, Sabo, Ivankov and other revolutionary army guards are talking to Pluton Rayleigh. Rayleigh had just arrived here not long ago. Rayleigh looked at Straw Hat Luffy, who had woken up but fell into a state of grief and apathy due to Ace's death, and sighed. The old man is here to teach Luffy to practice. Long said gratefully, it's my son's honor to have Senior Pluton come all the way here. Rayleigh sighed more and more heavily. Actually, the old man has nowhere to go. The Sabaody archipelago was occupied by the 5 emperors Luo Xing, and the old man was driven out. When mentioning the name of the 5 emperors Luo Xing, Long's expression became solemn. That man is now waging war in North Blue again. His technological means have greatly increased the number of Germa clones, and he has enhanced the strength of clones with monster cells. 5. At North Blue, it's unstoppable and unstoppable. At the moment, most of the North Blue has fallen into his hands. Rayleigh frowned and said, the world has entered an unprecedented chaos, and the appearance of that man has greatly changed the course of the times. Perhaps as Whitebeard said before his death, the new era has no ships that can carry remnants of the old era like this old man. Rayleigh was saddened. The older generation has died one by one. Only he is still alive in this world, and he has a mission on his back. Rayleigh turned to a solemn tone. Mr. Long, this old man will stay in the Revolutionary Army and teach Luffy to practice with all his strength. 35. Although the times are developing in an unknown direction, the old man always believed that Roger's successor, the ultimate Joey boy who will change the world, is Luffy. Long also firmly believes in this, not only because Luffy is his son, but also because of the Renren fruit, Udman's, Nika form that Luffy ate. This devil fruit has its own will, and it will take the initiative to find its owner. The former dragon believed that he who led the revolutionary army was the one who would change the world. He also went to find this Nika fruit. But fate is always joking. Nika fruit was actually eaten by his son. Since then, the dragon, who had ignored Luffy since he was born, began to observe Luffy secretly. Even when Luffy first went out to sea, the dragon followed and protected him for a while. Later, Long also learned that the successor he had trained, Sabo, the second in command of the revolutionary army, was actually his son's sworn brother. Everything seems to have been arranged by fate. The dragon suddenly became enlightened and decided that his son Luffy was definitely the son of destiny, that is Joy Boy, the ultimate sun god and savior. Judging from Rayleigh's attitude and previous rhetoric, not only him, but also the legendary Pluton, and the red hair of the 4 emperors of the New World, all hold the same view with him. Long became more and more convinced. Even though the power of the 100 beasts is getting stronger and stronger, the reputation of the man named Luo Xing, the 5 emperors, is becoming more and more magnificent. But the final winner must belong to Luffy. This is the arrangement of fate. Absolutely cannot go wrong. Just as Long and Rayleigh were discussing how to cheer up Luffy as soon as possible and practice, a revolutionary soldier suddenly ran in a panic, panting, "Leader, someone attacked us." They call themselves the Blackbeard Pirates. 5.4 What? Blackbeard? Rayleigh stood up in shock. How could he find it here? Baldigo's location is very secret. Even the world government doesn't know it. The dragon remained calm and said, a ship had previously returned from the outside world, and may have been followed by them. 5. Sabo asked, Mr. Long, let me catch that Blackbeard. 99. Ace was given to Marine by Blackbeard. Blackbeard was the culprit who killed Ace. How can Sabo not hate Blackbeard, who has recovered his memory? The dragon shook his head and said, now is not the time for a war with them. We need to continue to hide our strength. Not to mention the most important thing is to let Luffy cultivate with peace of mind. Sabo, you ordered to go. Let the brothers of the Revolutionary Army retreat. Don't die in vain. 99. Ivankov, the headquarters may be moving to your country next. 217. The Might of God level monster cells, system upgrade of 8. The Revolutionary Army actually gave up Baldigo and chose to retreat. This decision exceeded Blackbeard's expectations, and Blackbeard thought it was going to be a life and death battle. After all, the other party has Pluton Rayleigh, and the leader Monkey D. Long is definitely not a simple character. Blackbeard wants to beat Baldigo, but it's not that easy. Therefore, when the Revolutionary Army chose to retreat, Blackbeard was puzzled, but also happy to see it succeed. His key task now is to accumulate strength, and there is no need to fight to death with the Revolutionary Army. Blackbeard allowed the Revolutionary Army to retreat without a decent pursuit at all. But the one left behind by the Revolutionary Army was their chief of staff, a young man named Sabo. When the young man saw him, Blackbeard, it was as if he had seen an enemy, and he was gnashing his teeth. Blackbeard was careless and hit the opponent with a dragon claw punch, and he screamed in pain. A young man named Sabo said, Blackbeard, teach Sooner or later, I will settle Ace with you. Only then did Blackbeard realize that this man hated him so much because of Ace's death. Blackbeard grinned. I'm waiting for that day, thief, ha ha ha. 18. Wait until the Revolutionary Army has retreated. The smile on Blackbeard's face gradually disappeared, become gloomy. There was absolutely no excitement about capturing Baldigo. Badgers wondered, Captain, are you afraid of Sabo, the chief of staff of the Revolutionary Army? Blackbeard sneered disdainfully. What kind of guy is that guy? At best he's similar to Ace, and he's not even in the eyes of Lao Tzu. Badgers went on to ask, what are you thinking, Captain? Blackbeard said, I'm wondering how to get the power of shock fruit. Up to now, Blackbeard still hasn't given up on acquiring the shock fruit ability. After all, that is the power that can destroy the world. Only after obtaining shock fruit, Blackbeard will be confident that he will be the best in the world. Even though dark fruit is powerful, it still has many limitations. For example, against a pure Haki powerhouse like Luo Xing, the Five Emperors, dark fruit's advantage over those with ability would be completely unplayable. And the side effects of double damage to the body will actually drag Blackbeard down considerably. This is the reason why Blackbeard chose to run away in shame when he met Luo Xing several times before. He currently lacks the means to deal with non-fruit powers. Shock fruit is a must for Blackbeard. But Whitebeard is dead, and it's not known how long it will take for shock fruit to reappear at sea. Badgers scratched his head and said, how long do we have to wait? No, there is no need to wait in vain. 35. Blackbeard clenched his fist. His eyes flickered strangely. As long as I can get Whitebeard's corpse, I still have a way to get the power of shock fruit. Dark fruit has a special ability, which can take the devil fruit ability from the dead ability person before his life. Blackbeard can absorb these abilities into himself or transfer them to others. Therefore, after obtaining the power of shock fruit, Blackbeard's plan to dominate the sea is to create a powerful army full of capable people. In this way, he has the capital to compete with world government and Beast's pirates. But Whitebeard's body was taken by Redhead. Who knows where he'll be buried? Navigator Lafayette frowned. Blackbeard smirks. The location of the burial, I don't have to think about it. It must be Whitebeard's hometown. It's the place that Whitebeard cherishes most. Even in the Whitebeard pirates, few people know about it. Thief, ha ha ha, but I have been on the Moby Dick for decades. Of course I can't hide such a thing from me. Blackbeard completely guessed the actions of Marco and the rest of the White Corps. They buried Whitebeard's body in Whitebeard's hometown. Blackbeard sneered, Badgers, Vanukar, and Poison Q, the three of you will recruit troops on this island first to expand your strength. Lafayette, you and I go to Whitebeard's hometown. This time, stealing Whitebeard's body requires stealth, and it's not good to bring too many people. Wanokyani. It has been a few days since Luo Xing returned to Wanokyani. When Germa's clone corps easily defeated the most powerful countries in the North Blue, there was no need for him to stay there any longer. And, the location information of several large islands in North Blue, Luo Xing has been entered into any door. In case Marine and the world government send troops to attack, or something else happens, Luo Xing can pass through any door and gather combat power immediately to deal with it. So, at the level of war, the arbitrary door is completely a shameful prop. The troops that should be scattered all over the world can be gathered together in an instant. Overwhelm the enemy with absolute superiority. The top executives of Marine and world government are not fools either. They clearly saw this, so they did not dare to send troops into battle easily. In order to deal with this severe situation, Marine conducted a world conscription and was pleasantly surprised to obtain two top combat powers, Fujitora and Green Bull. The world government conducted a general mobilization of the entire army. In just 10 days, an army of more than 200,000 people was convened, which is twice the size of the Summit War. The mountain and rain are about to come and the wind is full of buildings. Now everyone can see that the world government has really spared no effort this time, and will go all out to compete with the 100 beasts for the hegemony of the sea. Right now it's just the calm before the storm. Luo Xing's dark eyes were deep. Although destroying Impel Down and occupying Sabadi Land, North Blue's conquest has not been hindered too much, and all the strategic objectives around Summit War in advance have been achieved. In various wars, the Marine and the world government have been severely defeated, but Luo Xing is not complacent. He never underestimated world government. After all, an institution that has ruled the world for 800 years, no matter how rotten and ugly, its accumulated heritage over the centuries is immeasurable. World government, celestial dragons, 5 elders, the mysterious Lordim. There are definitely hidden strengths that have not been exposed. In the current situation, it seems that the 100 beasts have the upper hand, and the world government has been losing ground. But the 5 elders and him have yet to take action. Whether they possess top-notch strength and whether they possess ancient weapon Uranus is unknown. And these unknown factors are enough to change the current situation. Luo Xing had to be cautious. He wants to continue to strengthen his own strength. At the same time, he also wants to upgrade the system to IV-10 as soon as possible, and create a god-level monster cell for the old father-in-law Kaido to eat. The strongest blue dragon form in the sea, land and air, coupled with god-level monster cells, can definitely make father-in-law Kaido have the power to destroy the world. When Luo Xing can no longer worry, use his army, attack Reiju in one fell swoop, and tear open the true face of the mysterious Im. These thoughts run through my mind. Luo Xing and his wife Yamato spent half a day together before heading straight to the laboratory on the Island of Ghosts. His points have already allowed the system to be upgraded to EV 218. Inventing the super divine water, Pejiwan finally evolved the phantom beasts. Add thousands of criminals from Impel Down, and tens of thousands of clones newly created by Germa. After eating the monster cells, Luo Xing's system points have accumulated enough to upgrade to EV8. Host, Luo Xing. Points, 5 million. System level, EV7, 120,000. Unlocked props, ghost level monster cells, dragon level monster cells, Cybertronians. Any door. Items to be unlocked, Super Shinshui. System Mall, Time Machine, god level monster cells. Looking at the system panel, the points are as high as 5 million. Luo Xing immediately used 2 million points to open the panel again. Host, Luo Xing. Points, 3 million. System level, EV8, 150,000. Unlocked props, ghost level monster cells, dragon level monster cells, Cybertronians, arbitrary doors, super magical water. Props to be unlocked, universal capsule. System Mall, Time Machine, god level monster cells. Luo Xing looked at the column of items to be unlocked. The next level can make a universal capsule. The universal capsule, like the Super Shinshui, is a magical prop in the Dragon Ball world. Anything can be reduced and stored in it, which is very convenient and fast. For Luo Xing, who is inventing more and more props these days, it is exactly what is urgently needed. Otherwise, with so many things, he can't always carry a package with him wherever he goes, right? That would be detrimental to his wise image. Luo Xing thought, judging from the current progress of the 100 beasts, the sight of the 100 beasts will become larger and larger, the number of members will become more and more, and the accumulation of system points will also become faster and faster. I believe that it will not be long before EV9 can be upgraded. Luo Xing showed a satisfied smile, and then began to concentrate on the research and development of super divine water. With his current technological means, he can develop anything very fast as long as he understands the relevant knowledge. In just half a day, Luo Xing made more than 10 bottles of super divine water. The supernatural water is a kind of poison, and it is also a kind of magic medicine. As long as it can resist the toxicity of the super divine water, the strength of the user can be greatly increased. To a certain extent, it has the same effect as the monster cells. Luo Xing planned to give these 10 bottles of super divine water to the 3 disasters and Flu Bao of the 100 beasts. After all, they are Luo Xing's henchmen. Compared with Enlil, Shuru and others who joined later, the degree of trust is undoubtedly a lot higher. Luo Xing takes out any door. The first person that popped into his mind was not someone else, but Pejiwan, the youngest among the Flu Bao. It's really pathetic to think about coming to Pejiwan. When Luo Xing first invented the weird cell, Pejiwan was the first to eat one out of curiosity. And that one is just a low-level tiger-level monster cell. Even his strength has been greatly improved. However, he failed to allow his ancient species, Spinosaurus fruit, to evolve to the level of an illusory beast. The remaining 5 Flu Bao, who ate ghost-level monster cells and fruit abilities, have all evolved to phantom beasts, and they all have their own special abilities. The 3 disasters eat more dragon-level monster cells, and when the fruit evolves into a mythical beast, it has the terrifying strength to challenge the 4 emperors. Admiral Peggy saw that among the 3 disasters and the Flu family, he was the only one who was not a phantom beast, and his envious eyes turned red. Long ago, Pejiwan had begged Luo Xing if there was a way to help him evolve the phantom beasts. At that time, Luo Xing fooled him casually in order to ask Pejiwan to make money for him. Pure Peggy was convinced, and even went to hijack the heavenly gold because of this. However, Luo Xing has not fulfilled the words at that time until now. Thinking about it, Luo Xing felt a little guilty. So, after inventing the Super Shinshui, the first thing Luo Xing thought of was Pejiwan. Xiao Pei, see how nice I am to you. Luo Xing opened any door and appeared in Dressrosa in the next second. Fosfu, the sisters Runty and Pejiwan, have been guarding this place all the time. After Luo Xing appeared, without much nonsense, he called Pejiwan and threw him a bottle of super divine water. Little Pei, drink this bottle of potion and your dream will come true. Pejiwan was stunned for a moment, and then his hands trembled with excitement. What is his dream? Of course it's an evolutionary beast. Sadly, he was beaten by his sister Runty every day during this period, saying that he was still a weak and pitiful ancient species. Now, is there a chance at last? Pejiwan was moved to tears and said to Luo Xing, "Thank you, young master." Then he couldn't wait to drink the super divine water in one gulp. Runty came to Luo Xing quietly, raised Ginkankan's forehead, and asked curiously, Young master, is this potion a new thing you invented again? Can it really make Xiao Pei evolve into a phantom beast? 55. Luo Xing tapped Runty's forehead. Clang clang. It was like knocking on steel. Runty, who was originally a swollen-headed dragon fruit person, after eating the ghost-level monster cells, his forehead turned golden, harder than diamonds. Even if Luo Xing tried harder, Runty still couldn't feel the slightest pain, but his fingers felt numb. Luo Xing helplessly curled his lips and said, "When did what I said not come true?" The voice fell. Pejiwan suddenly began to cry out in pain. Run was a little worried. "Young master, this potion is the same as the monster cell. Does it have any side effects?" "Xiao Pei won't die, right?" Luo Xing was speechless for a while. "What a real sister. Are you so looking forward to Pejiwan's death?" "This medicine is called Kashin Shui, and it is strong toxicity. You must survive it to gain great strength." 9. Luo Xing explained while watching Pejiwan's changes. To be frank, Luo Xing himself is not sure how strong the supernatural water is, but judging from Pejiwan's painful expression at the moment, it is absolutely no less than a freak cell. Luo Xing couldn't let Pejiwan really die. If Pejiwan couldn't stand it, he would use fairy bends to help. But Luo Xing still hopes that Pejiwan can bear the past through his own strength. Fortunately, Pejiwan did not disappoint him. After a few minutes, Pejiwan stood up intact. The momentum on his body has skyrocketed by a lot compared to just now. Fuzzy Fu couldn't help showing an expression of shock and envy, saying, 66 inches. This kind of momentum makes me feel a great threat. Runty hurriedly asked, "Little Pei, how do you feel?" "I feel stronger than ever." Pejiwan clenched his fists, and then he couldn't help laughing up to the sky. "Ha ha ha ha. I have finally evolved a Newman's." The feeling of the phantom beast and the ancient species is so different. 99. Pejiwan was so excited. So excited. The humiliation that was ridiculed in the past was swept away. "This feeling is so cool." Cough cough. Luo Xing coughed and interrupted the excited Pejiwan, who couldn't help himself, and said, "Little Pei, it's just a Newman's. Why are you so excited?" "Calm down. No matter what happens, keep calm at all times." "Okay, now let's show off your Newman's abilities." Any phantom beast species has its own special abilities. If Runty turns into a golden forehead, it can also emit shock waves, such as the scarlet wings from Phosphodor. The Spinosaurus fruit that Pejiwan evolved into the mythical beast species must also possess a brand new ability. Hearing Luo Xing's words, Pejiwan, good, immediately showed a proud expression on his face, and said with a smile, "Young master, my Newman's abilities are very special. Don't be frightened later." "Oh?" Luo Xing raised his eyebrows, aroused by interest. "How special? Let me take a look at it." Pejiwan rushed towards Luo Xing without saying a word. His strength has skyrocketed, and his speed is extremely fast, which is equivalent to teleportation. But Luo Xing's observation haki has been able to predict the future. No matter how fast the speed is, Luo Xing can respond in time, so still calm. But in the next second, he couldn't help showing a surprised look on his face. For under his watch, Pejiwan's figure suddenly turned into 3, then turned into 5, and finally turned into as many as 10. Is the afterimage caused by too fast? Luo Xing opened his eyes wide. No, it's not an afterimage. The ground beneath the feet of the 10 Pejiwans was shaken, indicating that they are all real. Good guy. Is Pejiwan's Newman's ability actually a clone? Luo Xing was really pleasantly surprised. The ability to clone is extremely rare in this sea. 219. Pejiwan's mythical beast, Phantom Spinosaurus. Viola and Rebecca of the palace. Pejiwan split up 10 physical clones at once, and Fuzzfu and Runty were stunned. Fuzzfu was shocked. This kind of ability is too shameful. If you are singled out, you can't fight at all. 35. One person is divided into 10. The so-called two fists are invincible to 4 hands. The ability of the clone is indeed quite tricky. At least, the current Fuzzfu is no longer sure of defeating Pejiwan one-on-one. Runty opened her big mouth and said with a bright light in her eyes, 10 little pennies, 10 little pendants. Wow, wow, after that, I won't be able to beat up 10 younger brothers. Pejiwan, who was doing a clone, stumbled upon hearing this and almost fell to the ground. Looking at Runty angrily, he shouted, "Sister, are you speaking human words?" Then, the 10 figures abandoned Luo Xing and went straight to Runty. Run is yelling, "Ah, Xiao Pei, what do you want to do? Do you want to murder your sister?" But his face was full of excitement and eagerness to try. She also really wants to try Pejiwan's current strength. When a clone of Pejiwan came to her, Run is not hesitant to punch in the past. But what the fist hit was like soft cotton. With a puff, the avatar actually dissipated like a bubble. Run is a little confused. Not an entity. How could this be? 35. Even Luo Xing was surprised again. If he sensed correctly just now, Pejiwan's clone changed from a solid body to an incorporeal body at the moment when Runty's fist hit him. It's even possible to convert between reality and reality, Luo Xing murmured, feeling more and more pleasantly surprised. God seems to make up for Pei 3.1 million Yuan's suffocation during this period of time, and the ability of the Yudmans to give him is uniquely powerful. The remaining 9 clones of Pejiwan continued to charge towards Runty. After being stunned for a while, Run shouted loudly, "Xiao Pei, your sister will always be your sister. Don't think that with this weird ability, you can beat me." 95. Runty turned into a human beast form, with a golden forehead, sending out a terrifying shockwave. Boom boom boom. The surrounding trees were destroyed. Pejiwan's clone was wiped out several times again. But the rest of the pace continued. Obviously, Runty's attack did not hurt Pejiwan's body. Which one is the real body? One time it's real and the other is false. I can't tell the difference at all. Run is a little anxious. When Pejiwan's remaining clones approached her less than half a meter from all 4 directions, Runty yelled. But in the end, he couldn't handle it, and Pejiwan seized the opportunity and pressed him under him. "Ha ha ha, I won, sister. This time I won." 35. Pejiwan laughed heartily. Several clones also returned to his body. Run was so angry that he scolded, "Xiao Pei, you bastard, are you courting death? Let go of my mother." 35. Even though his strength has surpassed his elder sister, Pejiwan still has a natural fear of her elder sister in his heart. Being yelled at by Run like this, he subconsciously shrank his neck and loosened his strength. Runty seized the opportunity to overturn him, pinning him to the ground and beating him hard. Pejiwan was beaten into a pig's head. Luo Xing asked, "Little Pei, your ability is really weird. What's the reason?" Although Luo Xing has already guessed, he still wants to confirm it from Pejiwan. Pejiwan touched the big bag on his head and grinned in pain. "Kaido, that is, it can be cloned, and it can be divided into 10 at most. The 10 avatars are both physical and incorporeal, and they switch back and forth between the virtual and the real according to the needs of the battle." 39. At the same time, my body can also move freely among the 10 clones. The beaten-up Runty suddenly realized. It turned out to be so. No wonder she couldn't tell the truth from reality, and couldn't find Pejiwan's body at all. It turns out that Pejiwan's body can be switched back and forth among the 10 clones. Fu smacked his lips and said, "Unless you wipe out all 10 Pejiwan's clones in one go, it's almost impossible to defeat Pejiwan." Pejiwan's ability can be both offensive and defensive. As long as there are clones, he is basically invincible. This ability is truly heaven-defying. Luo Xing said, "In the future, your fruit ability may be called Dragon Fruit, Phantom Species, Phantom Spinosaurus form." Pejiwan had a swollen pig's head and raised his chin proudly. Luo Xing couldn't help laughing. "Although you have powerful abilities, don't be complacent. You still need to work hard. After all, Marine and world government also have a lot of powerful combat power." Pejiwan obediently obeyed. Luo Xing then asked Fu and Runty to drink the super divine water as well. Both of them were originally at the level of the Emperor's deputy, and could briefly challenge the 4 Emperor's Admiral. The super divine water made their strength skyrocket again, which was enough to contain the top powerhouses for a long time. Luo Xing is satisfied with this. When 6 people can have the strength to contain the top powerhouses, in this way, even though Marine has 2 more Admiral-level combat powers, Fujitora and Green Bull, on the side of the 100 beasts, they can still take it easy. Luo Xing asked Pejiwan, Fu, and Runty to get acquainted with their current strength. He went to Dressrosa's palace. "I haven't seen Viola, the ripe violet, and the tender flower-boned orca for a while. Luo Xing is definitely going to have a look." Viola has been queen of Dressrosa for some time. The graceful temperament of a queen on her body became more and more obvious and luxurious. She sits on a high throne. Below the hall are respectful and obedient ministers. Viola solved the problem reported by the ministers in a few words. The ministers were convinced, and admired the first lady queen in Dressrosa's history. When the minister left, Rebecca, who was standing beside Viola, said with admiration, "Aunt, you are amazing. People also want to be a strong woman like you." Viola's bright red lips pursed into a smile. "It's not that powerful, but it's just getting used to it." As he spoke, the figure of that man appeared in his mind for some reason. Viola snorted again. "Actually, the reason why your aunt and I can be the queen and being so successful is all because of your good brother." 9. There is only one person who is called a good brother by Rebecca. Naturally Luo Crossing. Rebecca's beautiful eyes revealed infinite longing and admiration. "Brother, of course the greatest Yamato man in the world." Looking at Rebecca's face full of fans, Viola was helpless. That abominable villain, but absurd scourge of their aunt and nephew. Even the original King Riku and Rebecca's father Cyrus knew about this. What a shame. But Rebecca still looked like she was giving up on that bad guy. What Viola was about to say, the bad guy suddenly passed through any door and appeared in front of him. Viola was taken aback and said in a bad breath, "It's elusive. Do you want to scare people to death?" "Elder brother," Rebecca cried out in surprise. Like a Ruan, she threw herself into Luo Xing's arms. Luo Xing embraced the girl whose body was gradually growing, and the tip of her nose was full of the good fragrance of the girl's body. Seeing the brothers and sisters hug each other when they came up, Viola couldn't help but say, "What a good brother and sister. I don't care about you. After all, turn around and leave." Luo Xing grabbed her hand. "Pull gently." Viola danced like an elegant violet and came to Luo Xing's arms. Luo Xing lowered his head, looked at the two beauties in his arms, one big and one small, and smiled. The weather is fine, why rush to leave? Luo Xing was really in no hurry to leave. He stayed in the palace for 7 or 8 hours. Originally, he also plans to spend more time with Viola and Aunt Rebecca. After all, he didn't want to neglect any of his women, especially Rebecca, who is cleverly called his good brother, will do whatever Luo Xing says, making Luo Xing very affectionate. But a phone call suddenly came in. It's Pejiwan's, Master Young Master. Outside Dressrosa there is a man named Apu, the long-handed clan, who seems to be one of the most evil generations. He wants to see you, and he says he wants to take refuge with us beasts pirates. 220, Apu came to take refuge. The fearful kid, Kira and Hawkins. The doors of the palace were locked tightly. No one can get in. The throne is relatively spacious, but if 3 people are seated, it will definitely not be able to sit down. Someone must be sitting on the other's lap, or kneeling. When Luo Xing left, Viola and Rebecca, the beautiful aunts and nieces, are leaning against each other, leaning softly on the throne. Viola rolled her eyes and said, "It's absurd, this chair has to be changed immediately, otherwise how can I meet the minister here in the future?" Rebecca blushed and said, "The palace has to be washed again, and there are traces everywhere." Viola patted Rebecca's white and smooth shoulders, and said, "It's not all because of you. Whatever he asks, you agree to it. HMPH, you don't know how to be reserved at all." Rebecca lowered her head, too embarrassed to speak. Looking back now, a few hours ahead, she was indeed too bold and too reserved. But I didn't think of it at the time. It's just that her mind is dizzy. She will do whatever her brother asks her to do. It's like being in the clouds and flying freely in the sky. Luo Xing heard the conversation between the 2 women behind him, and the corners of his mouth curved into a satisfied arc. Then, the phone bug in his opponent said, "Take that Apu and come see me." 5. Pejiwan on the other end of the phone bug took the lead. It didn't take long. Pejiwan brought Haming Apu over. Apu felt frightened along the way, because he sensed several extremely powerful breaths on Dressrosa. Each of those breaths was enough to crush him, including Flu Bao, who is younger than him and named Pejiwan, who is leading the way at this time. His strength must be far above him. While Apu was shocked, he felt more fortunate and happy in his heart. The stronger the 100 beasts, the wiser his decision to take refuge in. Soon, I saw Luo Xing, the legendary 5 emperors, who seemed to be more abyss than Saipades. Apu knelt down directly and worshipped in fear. "See Lord 5 emperors." Luo Xing asked Apu to stand up and said lightly, "You want to join the 100 beasts and be loyal to me?" 99. Apu said without hesitation, "Yes, Lord 5 emperors. I have seen the world situation clearly. The one who will become One Piece in the future must be Lord Kaido. The one who will rule the world in the future must be the beasts pirates. 5. The one who will create a new era in the future must be you, my lord." Apu, who has the power of sound fruit, can not only attack with music, but also speak very nicely. Luo Xing laughed. "The person who knows the current affairs is Junji. You can see the general trend of the world in advance, which is considered to surpass other extremely evil generations. From now on, you will be a member of my 100 beasts. This ghost-level monster cell is a reward for you." Luo Xing has never been stingy with rewards to his subordinates who sincerely join him. He has the perspective of God, knowing that Drake is a spy. Let Shura kill him directly. And Apu is a sincere surrender. Apu, who took over the monster cell, was overjoyed. At first, he thought he needed to do something to gain the trust of Lord Yuang Luo Crossing. Did not expect. The grown-up believed him so much, and even gave him a very precious monster cell directly. Apu couldn't help being moved, and was even more grateful for the decision to join the 100 beasts. He ate ghost-level monster cells. After a period of pain, the momentum soared, and the strength was doubled. Apu became more and more determined to die for Luo Crossing. When he spoke again, he had already identified himself as a member of the 100 beasts. Apple Road, Lord Luo Xing, this time my subordinates are here. I would like to report to you about the other 2 supernovae, Kid and Hawkins. Under Apu's narration, Kid, like in the original book, formed an alliance with Hawkins and Apu, and planned to practice for a while before challenging the red hair of the 4 emperors. Unfortunately, Kid's life is not good. In the original book, Apu secretly surrendered, attracting Kaido of the beasts who fell from the sky. And this time, Apu was not looking for Kaidos, but Luo Crossing. Kid's fate will be even more tragic because Luo Xing is not like his father-in-law Kaidos. He chooses not to kill Kid because of his strength, and only locks him up in Tujing prison. If Kid doesn't surrender, he will only be the same as Susanoo Arashi and Cat Viper, and he will only end up in death. Luo Xing asked Apu, "Where are Kid and Hawkins now? Is there a record pointer there?" Apu took out a recording pointer made of glass. Luo Xing inputs the recorded location information into any door. Open the door, then go to meet the so-called extremely evil generation first. The name of the arbitrary sect, like the monster cell, has already spread all over the sea. Apu was very excited to have the opportunity to experience it for himself. Look left and right, follow Luo Xing to any door. Ask for flowers middle dot. Pejiwan of course followed. He also had an eager expression on his face. He was just about to test his current Udman's abilities a little more. Just take those Kid and Hawkins to practice. An island in the New World. The Kid pirates, the Hawkins pirates, and Appu's broadcast pirates all gather here. Kid, Kira, and Hawkins, these three supernovas with a bounty of over 100 million, are gathering around and discussing things. Halfway through the discussion, Kid suddenly shouted at the direction of the radio pirates with great dissatisfaction. What about that guy Appu? What are you doing? Why haven't you arrived yet? Deputy Captain Kaido of the radio pirates. The captain has something to do, and it will take at least 2 or 3 days to come back. .0. Let him hurry. 95, exclaimed Kid. Then he said to Kira and Hawkins, that guy Appu is just unreliable. At such a critical moment, he actually disappeared with Lao Tzu. Although the three supernova pirates have already determined their alliances, some plans and rules still need to be formulated. The three captains need to discuss in person. But Appu was late. No wonder Kid was angry. Hawkins looked calm on the surface, but he was a little uneasy in his heart. He calculated a hexagram just now, and the hexagram indicates that it is not advisable to travel today, otherwise there will be disasters. What calamity? Hawkins was a little surprised. Next moment, Appu's voice suddenly came from the air. Hey, Kid, I didn't mean to be absent. Isn't I going to send reinforcements, so that we can have a better chance of winning when we attack red hair pirates in the future? Appu's voice was too abrupt. Kid, Kira, Hawkins were all taken aback. They hurriedly looked towards the source of the sound. I saw a door that appeared out of thin air. Then, several figures emerged from it. Appu's figure is impressively in it. But Kid, Kira, and Hawkins just glanced at Appu, and all their attention was attracted by the man in the lead. The three of them almost invariably took a deep breath. Shocked, stunned, and terrified. A deep chill rose from the hearts of the three of them. Kid cried out, "5 Emperor Luo Xing, how could it be you? Appu, you bastard, have you betrayed Lao Tzu?" Gwing. If you like this audiobook, subscribe the channel for more videos like this and join my Patreon if you want to support me. Leave some comment and let me know if you guys like this story, or you have a web novel you like and want to hear its audiobook. I will be happy to create them for you. Please like, share, and leave a comment on the video.